There are lives where the spotlight is only the smallest visible tip of the iceberg. Andrea Bocelli's is one of them. The world knows him as a tenor who can shake the dome of the Milan cathedral, yet few know the private world that shaped him. Behind the luminous voice are two women who quietly carried him through two halves of his life, and three children who redefined what love and legacy can mean. While audiences see Bocelli under blazing lights and in sold-out stadiums, his truest light lives in simple moments. Family dinners in a Tuscan kitchen, a son playing piano at night, an 8-year-old daughter trembling beside her father to sing Hallelujah during a pandemic livestream. His private life isn't scandal or sensationalism. It is a story of choices: forgiveness over hurt, peace over conflict, and kindness, even when fame threatens to pull everything apart. The first love. A voice that found her before the world knew Andrea Bocelli as a global star. He was a 29-year-old blind man playing piano in a small bar in Pisa. He sang to pay for school and lived by heart rather than sight. One evening, a 17-year-old girl named Enrica Cenzatti stopped to listen, not out of curiosity, but because his voice held her still. She felt as if she was seeing his soul for the first time. Their love began quietly, without dramatic confessions. Enrica, young and unguarded, and Andrea, carrying insecurities and wounds, found each other through sound. She believed in him before he believed in himself, encouraged him to leave law school, and supported his decision to study classical singing. She worked part-time jobs to help pay his tuition and watched over him as he navigated a world he couldn't see. She gave him the sky an artist needs to be born again. A simple home and a rising star. In 1992, Andrea and Enrica married in a quiet ceremony, as gentle as their love. They settled in Tuscany, in a home filled with music, laughter, and simple peace. Andrea attended vocal lessons by day and played piano in bars at night. He returned home late, always greeted by a warm meal and Enrica's quiet hands. Their sons, Amos, born 1995, and Matteo, born 1997, grew up in this calm world where happiness required no applause, only love. But when Bocelli's career began to rise, the rhythm of their lives shifted. He stepped onto larger stages, traveled across Europe, and became a global name. Enrica remained introverted, uncomfortable with crowds, preferring the back row of life. The distance between them grew slowly, like two melodies drifting out of sync. The home that once felt like a refuge began to feel like a place where love was losing its natural rhythm. The silent fading, when distance becomes a wall. As fame approached their door, the life of Andrea and Enrica began to change. The man who once sang in a bar now stood before thousands. The trips grew longer, the concerts more frequent, and the world loved the larger-than-life part of Bocelli. Enrica loved the fragile human part, the quiet man behind the voice. Yet the world's demands gradually swallowed his time and attention. There were nights when Enrica sat alone in a quiet kitchen, dinner cooling untouched. Andrea, meanwhile, was in another city, trying to drown homesickness by singing harder and longer. No betrayal occurred. No harsh words were spoken. The love did not die from conflict, but from distance. Their marriage did not end with an explosion, but with a quiet fading, a truth they both recognized. They could no longer walk the same path. In 2002, after 10 years together, they divorced in silence, without scandal, bitterness, or public drama. The gentle divorce, love without resentment. What makes their separation unique is the way they walked away. Enrica chose gratitude over pain, silence over resentment. She did not cling, accuse, or publicly condemn him. She understood that love sometimes ends, not because it dies, but because life moves people into different worlds. After the divorce, she remained near Andrea so their sons could see their father whenever they wished. She protected their family from media scrutiny, never using the children as leverage or speaking ill of him. In 2014, when Andrea married Veronica Berti, Enrica attended the wedding, not as a reminder of the past, but as proof of a love that never needed possession to continue existing. She remained outside the spotlight, allowing the family to heal and grow. Enrica's quiet dignity made it possible for Andrea to move forward without bitterness, to build a new life without carrying the weight of anger. The second chapter, a new light arrives. After the divorce, Andrea entered a period he described as a long stretch of silence between two notes. Concerts no longer filled the emptiness he felt each night. He withdrew, leaning on music as his only anchor. But in 2002, fate introduced him to Veronica Berti at a dinner he didn't expect to change his life. Veronica was only 18, calm, intelligent, and quietly powerful. Andrea, already in his 40s, had no intention of falling in love again. Yet her presence made him feel seen. She didn't come to replace Enrica. She arrived as a new melody entirely her own, strong, mature, and unafraid of the spotlight. Unlike Enrica, Veronica did not fear fame. She accepted it with calmness, understanding that loving a world-famous man meant loving his world too. Their bond grew quietly but deeply, rooted in understanding rather than romance. A partner and a protector. Veronica's role. Veronica became more than a wife. She became Andrea's manager and protector. She understood his needs better than anyone. She knew when he needed rest, when he needed space, and when his voice needed protection. Her presence allowed his career to become steadier and more refined. She filtered his schedule, chose projects carefully, and protected his heart from chaos. In 2012, they welcomed their daughter, Virginia. Andrea said holding her felt like being born a second time. Virginia brought the sounds of childhood back into the home, tiny footsteps, laughter, and the joy of simple moments. In 2014, they married in Tuscany in a private ceremony. The world was surprised not by luxury, but by the quiet presence of Enrica at the wedding. It was a moment that proved love can exist without pain, and that families can heal with grace. 3 children, 3 lights. Andrea Bocelli's 3 children each carry a different shade of light. Amos, born in 1995, is calm, thoughtful, and intellectual. He chose science over singing, becoming an aerospace engineer. Yet he always returns to the piano when his father needs him. He is the family's quiet pillar, grounding their emotional world with rationality and tenderness. Matteo, born in 1997, is the artist of the family. He initially avoided singing in front of his father, feeling the pressure of his legacy. But after meeting producer David Foster, Matteo stepped into the spotlight. In 2018, he sang with his father in Fall on Me, a performance that moved millions. He later released his debut album in 2023, proving he is not merely Bocelli's son, but an artist in his own right. Virginia, born in 2012, is the family's radiant miracle. She sang Hallelujah at age 8 beside her father, revealing a voice both pure and confident. She is also a rhythmic gymnast, model, and the light that keeps the family grounded. The challenges of age and the power of legacy. At 66, Bocelli faced new challenges. His voice, once unstoppable, began to show signs of age. In 2023, he cancelled a concert in Boston because he could not produce a voice. In Philadelphia, he sat beside the piano, and let Virginia and the musicians perform in his place. Doctors warned that continuing to sing could permanently damage his voice, yet he did not complain. Instead, he said, "I must preserve my voice the way an athlete preserves his legs." He began to move slower, to choose carefully, to focus on what truly mattered. The world watched as his children stepped forward, ready to carry the torch. But his legacy is not only about who will sing after him, it is about the way he lived, the kindness he embodied, and the light he chose to keep alive, the moment that redefined him. Milan Cathedral. In 2020, during the pandemic, Bocelli faced public criticism for a misunderstood comment. The media twisted his words, turning him into a symbol of controversy. Yet he chose to apologize, not because he was wrong, but because he refused to hurt anyone during a time of pain. Months later, he stood alone in the empty Milan Cathedral and sang "Amazing Grace." The performance was watched by 180 million people worldwide. No audience, no orchestra, only a blind man lifting his voice toward a statue of Christ. Millions cried. The world understood that he was not speaking against suffering. He was singing to lift humanity out of it. The moment restored not only his dignity, but also hope for millions who were drowning in fear. His voice became a reminder that some gifts are meant for healing, not controversy. A legacy of light, what remains after the voice. When people look back on Andrea Bocelli's life, they often remember the stages, the awards, and the records. But his true legacy lies in something deeper, the way he used darkness to teach the world about light. He brought opera to the masses without losing its purity, turning classical music into a universal language of emotion. More than talent, he inspired belief in kindness, patience, and courage. His children continue his legacy, not by copying him, but by expanding it. Amos carries intellect and compassion. Matteo brings modern artistry, and Virginia represents a new generation of light. Beyond family, millions have cried, healed, and found hope in his voice. He may not see their faces, but they see themselves reflected in his music. And that is the gift of an artist born from pain, the ability to turn darkness into a shared light. Outro, the light you find in him. Andrea Bocelli's story teaches us that light does not come from the eyes. It comes from the way we rise after darkness. Even as his voice grows quieter with age, his heart remains bright. He sings not to prove anything, but to say thank you to life. When his voice finally rests, the light he leaves behind will not live on stage. It will live in the hearts of everyone who has ever listened. So when you hear Andrea Bocelli, ask yourself, what light have you found in his music? Share your feelings, send him gratitude, and remember that his greatest gift is not the voice itself, but the hope it carries.